Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Donna Fiesel, and I'm your host of Donna's Age Talk Show, where truth matters. Thank you so much for watching every day, Monday through Friday, beginning 1 p.m. Central. You can find us all over the place. All the social media sites, we're there. You can also find us on the radio at icradio.media, where we are Fox News affiliates. You may also find us on television, 182 Charter. And you can also find us syndicated on Abundant Television, found on Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire. Don't forget the podcast, thenewscasters.com. And also continue sending emails. I love them. There's my email address right there. Donna@donnasedge.com. Julia Christine is with me. This is you need to be on like every other day. Julia, I wanted to talk about yourself, but we've got a topic and we've got to talk about this. Okay. So first of all, about you for the folks who maybe are watching for the first time.
Yeah, my name is Julia Christine. I am an intuitive healer. And what that means is I help people kind of cleanse their energies and really connect with their inner being or who they truly are so that they can live the life that they want to live and literally anything they want and live the happiest life possible. I have a podcast called Life After Breath. It's a daily podcast. I'm so excited. We just celebrated our year anniversary. I have over 10,000 downloads, over 450 episodes. I'm super excited. You don't have to catch up. Just hop in the day. It's about 3 minutes of motivation about how to live your best life and realize your dreams. And then about 3 to 5 minutes of breathing to start your day centered and focused. And I love it. And I'm super excited about it.
Well, what you're saying about breathing is awesome because, again, a person with asthma, you got to know how to breathe or you're going to be living on a machine the rest of your life. So I like that. And our friend, Deja Lee, she said, when I first told her I had asthma, she said, well, you're not breathing right. And I said, how do you breathe? And so she taught me this way and you have to. So thank you so much for doing that. Continue, folks, sending emails, Donna@donnasedge.com. So we have one of our viewers mentioned a British show, and you guys need to find this. This is hilarious. Okay, so it's called Don't Tell the Bride. Again, I love those British shows anyway. They put on some good ones. Don't Tell the Bride. And so I said, well, what's it about? And so this is what Rick says. He said, well, basically, the male and the female are switching roles. So normally the bride's got I'm just telling you, all the groom's got to do is show up, basically, nowadays, or it's the way it's always been the way. But what they're doing is they're reversing it. So the guy who has no experience in putting anything together like that is finding out what it's like. So he is actually putting everything together. I'm talking about the dress, the venue, everything. He even, it was just weird, some of the stuff he wanted to do. One thing this guy wanted to do on one of the shows, and again, watch it. It's called Don't Tell the Bride. They can't have any contact with each other for 6 weeks. Okay. They can talk on the phone, they can send text, but he can't tell her what he's doing. Right. He picks out the most terrible looking dress ever. The bridesmaids are mad at him because he wants them to not look as good as the bride. So he picks the ugliest dresses you could possibly find. The venue is weird. And it's just so many things he did wrong. And so anyway, but it's because men are expected not to know how to do those things. Women are expected to know how to do those things. How true is that statement?
I think that's a very true statement. I think that it's getting a little bit better, but I think that there are expectations of each gender, which is an issue. And when a man who is good at something like flower arrangements or something that is historically looked at as woman's work, then they're automatically made fun of and, mocked and called gay or, and things like that. And you don't have to be attracted to the opposite sex in order to be good at something that might not fit into what is historically structured as a male or female activity. And I think that it's interesting. And I can see how it would be hilarious anytime somebody walks into a situation and they don't know what they're doing and they have no affinity for it and no desire to really do it, it's going to be a show. You know what I mean? It's going to be silly and ridiculous. Mm-hmm. But I think it also it could go either way. It could be dangerous of reaffirming the structures that are in place, or it could be really interesting and eye-opening for us to take a look and be like, hold on a second. Why does this have to be a woman's thing? Wait, who said that a woman has to be good at planning a wedding or party or flower arrangements? I suck at flower arrangements.
I'm not good. And I can't tie bows either.
Yeah. So, and like some women can't do their own makeup. They struggle with makeup, so they just don't wear it, or they just wear it the same every day, or whatever it is. But it's a thing that is supposed to be a woman's thing. I know a lot of women who hate and are not good at cooking. They hate it. And so they order out all the time because it's still their responsibility within the home. And I don't think that's always the best thing. I think, so that's where it could be dangerous to re-concrete these very archaic systems of what a man does versus what a woman does, how a man feels versus how a woman feels. But hopefully what it's doing is opening our eyes to seeing how ridiculous that really is. Mm-hmm. And if somebody's good at something, let's let them be good at it and not judge them. And if somebody's bad at something, let's let them be bad at it and not judge them for it, regardless of their gender. You know,
well, you're making people do things they don't want to do. And I know a couple that will probably be married for 100 years, and he is awesome at decorating. I mean, this guy can he can outdo any woman. I mean, he is really good.
Right.
Well, his wife's a welder. I mean,
that's amazing. And that's the thing. And does that make her too masculine? And does that make him feminine? No. But when you talk about it, I'm confident that that's what a lot of people are going to assume, that she's butch and that he's femme. And I don't know that that's true. It's just that that's something that they're good at and that they enjoy doing. So let's let them have that and not judge who these people are.
I think they would have an unhappy marriage if you made her cook and
absolutely.
You made him be a welder. They would both be miserable.
Absolutely. And I think we can all think of someone we know who like hates being in the kitchen, but she has to, she has to cook for her husband who's sitting on the couch watching the game. And while she's in the kitchen doing something she absolutely hates. I have a friend who literally that is her life. And so she gets, all the frozen, she hates being in the kitchen, but it's her role responsibility. And there's no discussion.
I think I love to cook. I look for reasons to preserve and all this kind of stuff. I'd live in the kitchen. That's my home.
Yeah.
But for the people who don't like to, well, then fine. Okay. I'll give you another example. Okay. So my son and my daughter-in-law, when they first get married, okay, she doesn't know how to cook.
Right.
And so Brad was raised with me having cakes and pies, and his buddies would come over and all this kind of stuff. So that's what he was used to. And so she called one day crying. She burned the macaroni and cheese. And this was from a box and all this kind of stuff. So she was just crying. And of course, I'm taking up for her. I said, "What did he do to you?"
Good for you.
She said, "Nothing." She said, "But Brad said you could do everything. Brad said you could." And I said, "No, I can't do everything. I was not born with a spatula in my hand. I had to learn how to do this." I mean, I burned biscuits. The first biscuits I ever baked, my brother at the dinner table said, "Hey, Mom, if somebody breaks in, we could kill them with these biscuits." I mean, that's how bad they were. They were terrible.
That's hilarious.
Now, my daughter-in-law, she keeps everything spick and span. I mean, she is clean. Yeah. And she said, I said, "Well, let me tell you this, Larissa." I said, "I feel like you're looking at my dirty house. My house is not near as clean as your house is. It doesn't matter." And I said, "You can let Brad knows how to cook. Let him do it."
Yeah.
And he does. He does. Yeah. Now she's doing it more and more because she's watching him do it. But now it was the responsibilities I think she was given. She has 3 sisters. They were all given a responsibility. Larissa they had this huge humongous house. Mm-hmm. Part of her responsibility was keeping the floors and the boards that go
right
that baseboards. I think that was part of her responsibility, keeping those clean. So I mean, so she's super good at it.
Right,
and she actually likes doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. And so it's between liking doing it and knowing how to do it, and then oftentimes you might find you like something when you start to get good at it. when you start, it's like, oh, wow. And your confidence goes up and all of a sudden, oh, I do enjoy doing this, and you don't have to. And so when we add on the gender roles that are from archaic systems from a gajillion years ago, it's not helpful, because then there's this pressure of not only do I have to be good at this, I have to like it, and I don't. Mm-hmm. And so I just feel like that's okay. That's okay. Like this show is hilarious because it's literally playing on those types of like fears and uncomfortableness and things like that. I think it's hilarious that he didn't want his bridesmaids to look as good as the bride, but still shows a crap dress.
Yeah, but
for
I know
her.
a lot
That's
of brides
hilarious.
that do that.
Really? I've never heard that before. That's so funny.
In the South, it's very common. What you do is that now I didn't. So I wanted my bridesmaid to look beautiful, so I didn't do that.
Yeah,
in fact, I let her choose the dress.
Yeah,
but I mean, these do things like that. But I do know brides here in this area that will get the ugliest, poofiest dress to try to make their bridesmaids look fat and all this kind of stuff.
Right.
It's ridiculous. So girls in the South, quit doing that.
Yeah. Let's lift each other up and support each other and not be in constant competition. No, but I think it's really important as we talk about like these roles, these gender roles, so to speak, and especially in our evolving society, that is a huge topic. What we have to remember, especially when you're like, one of the things that you had said to me earlier, I don't know that we've said it since we started recording, but understanding the sexes. And I think that that's actually something we need to release. And it's not about understanding the opposite sex. It's literally about understanding people and communicating. And so if you are in a relationship and you have a partnership, whether it's a loving relationship and partnership, or if it's a friendship, or if it's a business partnership, if you are in partnership, make sure, like, kind of like check your expectations and talk to that person about what part they're going to fill, you know what I mean? And like where they are, find out if they like cooking, find out if you're both bad at cooking, cool. That's something to consider as you continue your approach to your relationship, knowing that we need, sure. See if both of you still don't like cooking, guess what? That's okay. That doesn't mean you're not going to have a good relationship. It might mean you need a little bit more of your budget for like going out to eat, or like paying for one of those services, or, you know, whatever that is. And so, but you know that there's no judgment there, and you can move forward with your life. And so it's not about understanding, because this idea that one sex is so, mentally, I guess, and especially in their roles, different from another. We're all different from each other, regardless. Like, Donna, I love you to pieces, and we talk about a lot, and we have a lot in common, but we are very different people. And thank goodness, because I wouldn't want everybody to be like me. That would be really bad.
I don't like myself that much.
So that's what I mean. Like, it's the same thing. It's just that we put this title, this sex thing on it, or this gender thing on it, and it doesn't have to be. That is such archaic systems. And so when you start falling into a place of maybe judgment, or also expectation of what a woman should be like, or what a man should be like, I would encourage you to kind of check yourself. Take a step back and be like, hold up, is that really true? Do I really expect all women to stay at home and be in the kitchen? No, my mom didn't. My sister's an amazing attorney. You know what I mean? Whatever that is, or you know, my brother cries at emotional movies. He cries in emotional, and does that make him a weak person? Does that question his gender role? No, but that archaic system would say absolutely, men are supposed to be strong and da 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 da. You know what I mean? And so, allow yourself to release some of that. And I truly believe that in our society, the more we can release some of those things that we are starting to be more aware of, how that doesn't fit, just because it used to, because we made it, doesn't mean that it has, just because we've always done something this way, doesn't mean it's the best way for us today. And being open to that idea of, does this still work for me? Is this still true for me? And being okay with saying, actually, no, I'm going to release that belief, or I'm going to work on not having expectations and judgments for people. I'm actually going to listen to them and see who they are. And then you get to decide if that's who you are, and I'm not okay with it, then maybe I decide I don't want you as a partner, or I don't want you in my life, or I don't. And that's where we get to, but that's not based on those judgments or expectations. Mm-hmm. Those are based on who I need and want in my life as who they are, not in who I expect them.
I don't want anybody to be different than what they are. That's right. Impossible. But let me tell you something. I could have made a huge mistake in a business deal. Right. Okay, so there is, everybody knows I'm a crafter, and I like exotic beads and stuff like that. So this guy, my stuff looks a little different from everybody else's. But anyway.
Good. So that's what makes it your stuff.
It's funky. It can't be copied. I promise you that. And people either love it or they hate it. It's just one of the two things.
Yeah.
But long story short, there's a guy that actually puts on an Atlanta bead show every year. And he likes for me to come, and he just gives me stuff.
Okay.
Because I'll go work for him. But he puts me out there. Now, they have things that don't cost as much. It's still nice stuff. It's just, it's not like real diamonds, real rubies, real whatever.
Right.
But then he also has a line. He always wants me to work this one because I know how to work it, and I understand the stones. I get it. I understand what healing stones are. I understand all the stuff because I'm in it. I love it. I used to collect rocks as a kid. I should have been playing with dolls, but I collected rocks.
No. We're going to question that because no. Right. If you wanted to play with rocks instead of dolls, good for you, Donna. You go explore and become a world famous geologist instead of being trapped playing with a freaking doll.
I get it. So this is what could have happened. So this big, and you could tell he was retired military. You could tell. I mean, the way he carried himself, whatever. Well, he and his wife walk up. She's this tiny little petite, this old woman and all this kind of stuff. So they walk up and they wanted to know about the rubies, or he did actually. Well, I was talking with her instead of him because I assumed that word that you said. I assumed he was just there just because she made him come. That's what I thought. That was the wrong assumption. So here's what she did. She said, no. Don't talk to me. She said, he is ex-military. He retired. He was driving the whole family crazy. So my daughter-in-law makes jewelry, and she suggested he start making jewelry. And he's darn good at it. She said, he's much better at it than I could ever be. So she said, you're talking to the wrong person. He's the one you need to talk to. And I'm looking up at this big burly guy, and I'm showing him, what would go with what and all this kind of stuff. I forgot how much they bought, like several $1,000s worth of, and of course the guy who owned the event was smiling from ear to ear. And he said,
right.
So see, I could have cost that guy. I wanted the person I was working for that particular weekend to make a bunch of money that weekend.
Yeah.
I wanted him to be successful, and I wanted to be his vessel to do that, which is what people need to do in business anyway, if you're working with somebody.
Right.
And that could have cost him thousands of dollars because I made the wrong assumption.
Absolutely. And it just goes back to what we assume based on gender. And if you think about it, as you were telling this story, I was like, this is just like the Bronte sisters, these Wuthering Heights and Jane Eyre and Pride and Prejudice and all of these books. Those women who wrote those books that are now considered classics were not allowed to write because that was a man's job. And they wrote those books initially under a man's name in order for them to get out there. And then it came out that it was written by them. And so but that's the thing is that, can you imagine we would not have those books if those women stuck to the gender roles that they were supposed to in the society they lived in. Now, that was a gajillion years ago, so you could say, oh, Julie, things have changed. You're absolutely right. But
in some ways.
But have they? Because you still expect a woman or a big burly dude to not be into jewelry. Why? And it's not a judgment for me to say that. It's literally just, I've said this before here. I want you to get curious. Where did that assumption come from? Why am I judging that person for not liking dresses? Or that little kid for not wanting to play with his trucks? Or, you know what I mean? Like, where is that coming from?
But you know something, Julia, if you want to get biblical about it, the last chapter of Proverbs talks about the virtuous woman. She's a businesswoman. She actually goes out and buys a vineyard while her husband is sitting at the gates. I mean, And she's a very successful. And then Lydia, who bought purple. Purple was a big thing back in those days. Okay. That meant royalty. So Lydia was out there, actually a businesswoman, which some people say a woman shouldn't be a businesswoman. But those two examples right there, I mean, where can you go from there, Julia? It's like Julia's got froze screen. I mean, where can you go? Your screen froze.
I know. I don't know what's going on.
Okay. Did you hear what I said about the last chapter of Proverbs? No. Okay. All right. For the folks who say a woman's deal is to stay at home, and you hear a lot of that here in the South. I hate to say it. Yeah. But for that person to argue the point with you, okay, the last chapter of Proverbs, if you want to get biblical, the last chapter of Proverbs talks about the virtuous woman. She's a businesswoman. She actually goes out and buys a vineyard and is successful in it. Husband sets out in the gate, but anyway, she is a successful businesswoman. And then Lydia, back in those days, 2,000 years ago, purple, if you sold purple was this, it was like elegance. It was, you were rich if you owned purple. And so Lydia was actually a seller of purple and a successful businesswoman. And if you want to add Cleopatra in there, a lot of people want to say Cleopatra just laid out on and just ate grapes and chocolates. That's not what she did. She was a businesswoman.
I heard recently that the person who taught Socrates, and I wish I could remember her name, but she was a woman. Mm-hmm. The philosopher that taught and trained Socrates, mm-hmm. who we all refer to as like one of the main like kings, quote unquote, of philosophy, mm-hmm. was a woman. But because of that, her name was erased. Like they literally have tried to erase her from history because she was a woman, and that was not a woman's place. And so I'm not trying to like be Miss Feminist. I'm just saying it works both ways, mm-hmm. that men don't have to be tough in order to be male, mm-hmm. and masculine, and vice versa. A woman doesn't have to be in a dress in order to be feminine. Mm-hmm. And so it's a really interesting thing. And it's just remember that it's how we're trained. It's in the books we read, the magazines we see, the television shows, the movies. It's all around us. Not to mention, it's definitely been passed on to us from our mothers and fathers and our grandparents, mm-hmm. and their grandparents and their grandparents. But it's something and that's why I call it an archaic belief system. How did it start? I mean, I don't know.
Well, let me say this before you say that, mm-hmm. because I'm just telling you, in the Holy Bible, the last chapter of Proverbs talks about that businesswoman who's very successful, and she's the virtuous woman. So how did we go from the teachings of God to this when women need to stay at home?
Because man, as a human race, not men, because man has altered things that weren't. And added things and moved things to religions, to all kinds of things, to the Bible itself. There's historical proof that the Bible has been altered and what was taken out and all kinds of stuff. But remember, we can go back to the Bible, but we can go back to before that. We can go back to Socrates and how his teacher was a woman, and mm-hmm. yet they wanted that removed and hidden then. So it's about, I mean, we like, I don't know that we want to get into all this, but it's about power structures. It's about making sure that there's always someone lesser than, whether it's that sex or that race or that whatever, and manipulating the people into a specific structure so that they stay passive, and the people who are doing the manipulating stay in power. Ultimately, that's what it comes down to. We don't have to, like, that's semantics and all, and we can get into it, but we don't need to. That's just the way it is. And so it's been passed down and passed down and passed down. And at that time, it was really important to be subservient to those types of rules and that type of, and so then of course that's passed down to the next person about keep your mouth shut, keep your mouth shut, keep your mouth shut, stay where you are, stay in your lane. How often do you hear people say, stay in your lane?
I've been told stay in my lane a lot.
Exactly. And how does that make you feel, Donna?
Well, it makes me want to go for it even more. But when
right. Exactly. But that's what I mean. And it's keeping you down. It's keeping you away from your true self and who you really are. And so I don't want that for you, but I also want you not you, Donna, but you in general, to think about how and who you might be doing that to by assuming based on their gender how a person should be behaving. And so, like, remember that it is archaic. That's why I call it archaic, because it is literally from centuries and centuries and generations ago. Where did this start? How did this start? I don't know. Whatever led one person to believe that they were better than another, regardless of their gender or their race or the color of their skin,
two women together,
eyes, or their color of. No, exactly. And that's what I'm saying, is that this is something, who knows who first thought that they could be better than the person next to them. I'm saying all of it's BS, and take a little bit of time to step back, to step away and say, is that true? Is that person less than me because of their financial situation, or because of what they're wearing, or because of what they look like, or because of how they speak? No. Is that right for them? Do I want that kind of language in my life? No. So I'm not going to speak that way. So I'm not going to be around people who do. But now you understand why and where that comes from, instead of it just being a belief that you always have had because it has always been, because you've been trained that way, because you grew up that way. You grew up being told that you should be ashamed for having skinned knees and playing with the boys, and you need to start carrying a doll around. Why? Because that's what your mom believed, because that's what her mom believed, because that's what her mom believed, and that's been passed down. But gratefully, we are in this time where we're actually a little bit more allowed to question that, not to judge that my mom was an idiot for telling me that. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying how you were raised was bad or the wrong way. I don't believe in wrong in that kind of sense. But you get to decide, I'm a grown-ass woman. Does that work for me? Is that how I want to raise my family? Is that how I want to accept or not the people that I'm surrounded with? And then start having those communications. And that's where understanding the opposite sex is not about the opposite sex. It's about understanding your beliefs and what you want for your life, and then having communication with somebody who's different. And totally making sure that communication is open, and so that you understand that person, not their sex, not their gender, not their race or religion or creed, literally who they are. Because I love you to pieces, all of you, but you are not your religion, and you are not your race, and you are not your gender. You are uniquely you. Be that.
Nothing more truth than that. Absolutely. Let's go into a commercial break, and we'll return in just a few minutes. Twin City Used Car Sales has been serving drivers in the Northeast Alabama area for years with a quality selection of late model used cars, SUVs, and pickup trucks. On top of our extensive selection and competitive prices, we offer professional auto financing services for used car buyers of all credit levels. Whether you've just begun your search or you're ready to secure your next vehicle, at Twin City Used Car Sales, you will drive away with the vehicle of your dreams. The sales and finance staff at Twin City Used Car Sales looks forward to serving you, and you can apply for financing online before your visit to our used dealership in Gadsden, Alabama. Check us out on the web at twincityusedcars.com or go by our location at 901 First Avenue, Gadsden, Alabama. We sincerely look forward to serving you. At Lamone's Mexican Restaurant, located in Henniger, Alabama, and voted Best Mexican Restaurant of DeKalb County, Alabama 2020, we're here to serve you with authentic Mexican cuisine. Order easily online by going to lamonsmex.com or call 256-657-3999 to place your order. We're open Sunday through Thursday, 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. and Friday and Saturday, 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. Whether you're celebrating a cozy date night for two or a celebration for a crowd, at Lamone's you'll love our atmosphere and friendly servers. Thank you for dining with Lamone's Mexican Restaurant. At Liberty Bank, we're all about community, whether it's to help with a charity fundraiser or help families in need. Toys at Christmas or a local football team, we're here for you. You see, we realize the importance of family. Sometimes it's to build a new home or necessary home repairs. We're here for you. If you like the feel of a small town bank with all the conveniences of a big city bank, we're here to serve you. You will find us at any of our convenient locations in DeKalb, Marshall, Etowah, and Blount counties in North Alabama. You can call and speak with any of our friendly staff at 256-659-2175 or check us out on the web at libertybankal.com. And thank you for your support of our community. Member FDIC Equal Housing Lender. The only place I buy my beef is Lone Tree Ranch in Collinsville, Alabama. Their cattle is born and raised on their ranch, grass and grain fed, and you can feel confident when you serve your family and friends because their beef is all natural and no antibiotics or hormones are added. You can buy whole beef or perhaps go in with family or friends and buy half. Their customer service is number one as they take care of the delivery to their local processor and can deliver to your home for a small added fee. They also offer herd replacement heifers. I always call Lone Tree Ranch in Collinsville, Alabama for my beef specialty recipes and cookouts, and you can too. Food shortages are increasing, so buy local by calling 256-523-6462. That's 256-523-6462.
Because of your overwhelming support, our 1488 MyPillow has been one of the biggest sales in MyPillow history. I couldn't think of a better way to say thank you than to extend our wholesale pricing through Christmas. Get a classic standard MyPillow for only $14.88. Upgrade to a queen size, just $18.88. King size, only $1 more. Get my body pillows for only $29.88. And ready? Multi-use MyPillows, only $9.88. It's perfect time to stock up for Christmas gifts for everyone on your list. Go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to take advantage of our wholesale pricing. Including my classic standard MyPillows, only $14.88. But that's not all. I'm so confident you're going to love our classic MyPillows that I'm going to extend my 60-day money-back guarantee until March 1st, 2025. Plus, orders over $75 ship absolutely free.
Are you ready?
We all wonder what tomorrow will bring, but the future lays itself at the feet of the prepared and surrenders to the will of the persistent. It's not easy, but today shapes you so you can shape tomorrow. With Northeast Alabama Community College, when the future asks if you're ready, you can answer.
Yes.
Begin your future at Northeast Alabama Community College.
Good afternoon. We're back. My name is Donna, and I'm your host of Donna's Edge Talk Show, where truth definitely does matter. Even if it hurts sometimes, we're going to speak the truth to you because, I mean, you know, that's why we have Julia Christine with us. So
she doesn't pull any punches.
but you know what? I keep going back to the guy who owns the Atlanta Bead Show. And how I could have cost him thousands of dollars because I just didn't think about this big, really, this guy was like macho man, tall, and his wife probably stood about at his shoulder, something like that. And I just naturally assumed it's her. But now this can also happen in business deals. And I'll give you an example. So years and years ago, 30 years ago, I was in business partnerships with a couple of guys. Well, I had my role, which was, Donna's the personality. She's going to be out talking to customers, blah, blah, blah. And I like doing that. You don't want to stick me in some back room somewhere. And then one of the guys was going to do the books, and the other guy was going to do the technical part of it. It was an internet. It was a dial-up internet business is what it was. I wound up being the last man standing in this, by the way. I wound up.
Interesting.
This is what happened in it. Okay, so we would have meetings. Now, when you first start a business, you need to have a lot of meetings, and you really should have a lot of meetings before you partnership with somebody. It's almost
Definitely.
the dating scene. We didn't have enough dating. Okay,
Right.
so we found out we were all worlds apart. Because, and this is one thing. Okay, first of all, I'm not a feminist. I'm not a woman hear me roar. I'm an individualist. I'm a you be whatever it is that you are. That's how I am. So anyway, every meeting it was like, well, Donna, did you make the coffee and bring the donuts? And I was like, huh? Because basically when you looked at it, I was bringing the business in. I was actually working harder than they were. So I'm going, and I don't mind making the coffee and bringing the donuts. It's just that they assumed that I would have that role, that I would be doing that. So here's what I said. We're all going to take turns, dudes. Okay. I'll do it next time. And then you do it, and then you do it next time, because I'm as busy as y'all are. I mean, I've got a teenager that I'm trying to get. So anyway, assumptions again happened on their part. And I guess I just assumed their wives, might have been me too. So I just assumed their wives would be bringing stuff in. And they didn't. So there you go. We were all assuming too much. I think was the issue was. So in business deals, don't we? I mean, you can mess up a business partnership the same way.
It all comes down to communication and understanding the strengths and weaknesses really of who you're partnering with. And so one of the things that it's interesting because you talked about dating and I would say, yes, that's true. I had a friend say to me once, actually, gosh, I wish I remember who said this, but I was listening to somebody and they said, I have a friend, this couple, they were amazing together. They were absolutely amazing. And they decided to get married and they got married and everything changed. Their relationship went totally downhill. And the reason why, when they stood back and looked at it, was because their ideas of what marriage was, what marriage meant, and the roles that each other would be playing in that definition of what marriage was, were completely different, but they'd never thought to talk about it because they got along so well and everything in their dating life was perfect. And so, but when they put that title of marriage on it, everything changed because of their each individual preconceived ideas of what that meant for them and for their partner. And they never spoke about it. And so it's not just necessarily the dating, because in this example, those people had an amazing dating history and they dated for a while. And so the next logical step would have been to get married or, in your case, to start that business. But what does that mean to you? Do you expect me to fulfill a role that I haven't fulfilled yet? Like what is that? And so that's where all of it comes down to communication. And it goes back to that thing I was telling you about off air. Brene Brown is an amazing speaker, and she talks about in any partnership, business, otherwise, 100% is always necessary. But we all know that we are never always 100%. So you kind of can't expect from your partner 100% of the time. But you can have a conversation with your partner and say, I'm beat. I'm raising a teenage son and he was an asshole last night. I'm sorry. He was not a good person last night. I know. Sorry. I'm usually pretty good.
I've got to say you always are. So.
And so I only have 40% today. Can you match me and give me 60?
I love that.
And right. And so there's still 100%. And sometimes you get to a point where it's like, I only got 40. Me too. So you got a 20% deficit. So you continue with your day, but you both understand where you are and where you're maybe lacking. And so you're not going to jump down each other's throat because you already know, oh, that's right. They're only at 40% today. Okay, cool. I don't have to take that personally. Or we're going to table this. We're not going to talk about finances today because we're both only at 40% and there's no 100% anywhere, or whatever that is. And so communication, talk to your partner, tell them where you are, tell them about your expectations. And again, I'm not talking about a relationship, any partnership, friendships, business relationships. You cannot be successful in any correspond in any relationship without communication. And with honestly, that comes back down to honesty, and being truthful and vulnerable with yourself, which then starts to pull out some of those gender roles. Guys, it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay. It's important for you to be truthful and honest and vulnerable with your partner so that they know where you are and can meet you there. Period.
Totally. Yeah. Okay, so I know a couple. Okay, and she did send an email. I'm not gonna say who it is because I know her. Yeah. So they lived together for, I think it was like 5 years or something like that. Well, when they announced they were going to get married, I mean, everybody was so excited. It's like, wow, they really know each other now. I mean, they've lived together for 5 years in the same place. They've, they know each other. They were only married a year and they got a divorce. What happened there?
I mean, obviously I don't know, but there's a lot of pressure with words. You know how I feel about words. I'm a big vocabulary person, and putting that title on a relationship can change something. Somebody's view of what that meant was different than the other.
Yeah.
And so because they hadn't talked about what that would mean, what would change, what in their mind, any assumptions, absolutely, and expectations of what that word means. But if I don't know what your expectations of that word are, what your expectations are, then I can't meet them because I don't know what they are. And so all of a sudden, just because you put a ring on my finger, I'm failing you. But I don't know why, because you haven't told me what I'm not living up to, what expectations I'm not living up to. And then I haven't had an opportunity to decide if I want to live up to those expectations, if those are expectations that I am willing to embrace. You know what I mean? And so that's it. It all comes down to communication again. And I mean, obviously, I don't know why that marriage only lasted a year.
Oh, it shocked us. That one shocked me more than any divorce I've ever seen.
But I would imagine it's because there was some sort of expectation that wasn't met or known about when they entered into that quote unquote contract. And so that's why it's really, really important. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, let me ask you this question, because I noticed this from her. She didn't seem like the doting, happy bride that I thought she should have been. I never said anything to her because I thought it was none of my business, but I wanted to, but I didn't.
I think that, again, we put so much pressure on what different things mean. And so it's very possible. I mean, let's be honest. Historically, I rarely hear people say this these days because of, well, who knows why. But historically, a man would call his wife the ball and chain, and it felt like prison, and it felt like a woman needing to all of a sudden step in and being subservient to her man.
All of a sudden,
whatever he says goes, period. And that's just based on a word. That's just based on the word married. That's carrying a lot of weight. And so it's very possible that she wasn't the doting bride because that's not who she was. And all of a sudden she felt the ball and chain clasp onto her wrist or ankle or whatever. And she felt the trappedness of, oh, now I am in service to this man because I'm choosing to call him my husband. I don't know. I'm not trying to speak for her, but I can imagine how that it is just a word, but there's a mental part of it because of the weight that we put on that word. Why would we have terminologies like ball and chain or the old woman or the, you know what I mean? And obviously all of these are are from a man's perspective of his wife. Cause honestly, I don't know. I guess the old man is one that I've heard women say, but so I'm confident that it goes both ways. So please know that I'm not just saying but I also am a woman and so see things from that perspective of like, I'm not going to be subservient to the man that I call my husband. We're in a partnership, even though it's called married. And so my partner will know that as we enter marriage, instead of like this being an issue of an expectation that I'm not meeting because I'm not willing to, but I didn't realize it was there in the first place. And so I think that's that's a thing. And it comes back down to communication and what words mean to each of us. What does that mean? Like if somebody asks you to get married, yes, yes, yes. But wait, let's talk about what does that mean to you? Because it probably means something a little bit different than what it means to you. And so like, I mean, I do that with words like the word hard. When somebody says to me, oh, it's so hard, I go, is it? What's hard? Is it really hard or is it just new? Is it the first time you're doing it? Is there trepidation and are you a little scared of it? Or does it feel like it's going to be a challenge? Like, but is it hard? Like we use these words and we literally throw them around without realizing what it carries. And then we make something harder than it has to be because we've decided it was hard when really I was just a little nervous about getting started because it was the first time I'd done it. It wasn't hard at all. But I put that label on it and made it hard for myself.
I think so, because sometimes so once I mentioned on the show that I actually like for guys to open doors for me. I don't want to, like, the guy runs out in front. I don't like that. It's not my thing. So someone sent a text or sent an email to me once about that. It said, oh, I thought you were a woman of your own. Well, that didn't mean that that's my preference, that a guy opens the doors for women. I just think that's a good thing. I don't think there's anything rude about that whatsoever. And so she assumed that I was weak because I wanted, I'm just telling you.
No, I understand.
But she assumed I was a weak. She said, I thought you were a strong person.
Right.
So the man has to open the door for you. Well, see, I look at a total different planet, apparently, than she does.
Yeah. Well, no, it's not planet. It's just a different perspective. And honestly, those different perspectives are so important. They can be very divisive, especially if one person's going to attack and judge another person because of their perspective. But they're also they're in the universe, let's say, for a reason, because her giving you that perspective made you question yours and come to a conclusion of, actually, no, I really do like this. And that's the point of conflict and challenge and what I like to call contrast that enters our life, that makes us question and say, is that true for me? Because then it really does help us define and solidify the desires of our heart or the things that we do like and don't like. Now, you like a man to open the door for you, but can you open the door on your own? Yes, of course. If you are in front of your man and the door is there, are you going to open it for him sometimes? Yeah.
Yeah, I do sometimes. If he's got his arms full of stuff and I don't, I open the door for him to go in.
Absolutely. And so that's the thing, is that it's like, personally, I love it for anyone to open the door for me. If I'm coming and you're going, hold the door for me. Thank you so much. And vice versa. I would absolutely do the same. Do I want a man to run around the car to open the door? But like, no, I'm good. I can get out of the car. But like, it's almost like an honorific, right? It's almost like I recognize you as my queen for a man to do that. And I love that too. Is it necessary? No, but you're going to have people who are like, absolutely, this is what needs to happen and has to happen, because that is either how they were trained and what they believe, and they haven't taken a step back to really look at it and go, is that important? Or they have, and they're like, yeah, actually, that's really important to me. And that's okay, because that means that you know what you want, and you're going to find a man who will do that for you because you know what you want. And so actually, good for you. But I'm glad that that person challenged you a little bit, not in judgment. Don't ever love that. But in you going, hang on, is that true? Do I need that? Does that make me less of a woman, an independent woman, because I want my husband to open the door for me? No, actually, I do. That makes me feel good. It makes me feel special. It makes me feel honored. And it makes me feel like he's recognizing my femininity or my divinity as his partner, as his queen, as his, you know what I mean? And does that make me feel less than? Some women, it makes them feel less than. It makes them feel like the servant instead of the queen. And that is perspective.
Well, here's how I responded, because I don't believe, because someone says something, they try to trigger you. I think how you respond to them can either start World War III or not.
Right. Of course.
So this is how I responded, because I totally disagreed with that. But I thanked her for watching the show. And I said, thank you for giving me another way to look at it. Have a great day. That's all I said. I said nothing else. I could have dug into her and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah,
but I guess I didn't see the point. It wasn't a battle for me. So I just didn't.
Right. And here's the thing is that it's not that it might be something that's really sensitive to her. Like, let's pretend for just a second. Well, I don't know this person. And
I don't know her either. She's just somebody who watches the show.
We can assume that she is all of the things. And so what happens is when we get feedback like that, we automatically, and this is everybody, I'm not saying, Donna, this is what you did. Mm-hmm. We create a story about what that person's thinking and where that person's coming from. We don't know that to be true. But because of our perspective, that makes sense to us, that story, that whatever. And so we do. But so what you did was, instead of going down that rabbit hole of her story, which you don't know to be true because it's the story you created for her, you said, okay, cool. Thank you for sharing your perspective. We're good. That's all that there needs to be.
That's all it needs, isn't it?
But we also don't know that. Exactly. And so, but our ego often gets in the way that we have to defend ourselves and we have to defend our perspective. And that's not true. What we have to do, and I'm using that word intentionally, is take a step back and say, is this still true for me? Yes. Cool. It doesn't have to be true for her. Cool. We have different perspectives. And that's what makes us unique and different in this world. That's what continues to expand the universe and allow us to each get everything we want. Does it feel like this person is coming from an angry space? Yeah, but that could be my interpretation of her email and not really what she meant. Maybe she's actually trying to empower me to be my own woman, and she's not coming from a place of judgment. Maybe that's true. I don't know. It's an email. We're not having a conversation. Do you know what I mean? And I this is something that has come up a lot in the recent weeks because of the election and everything like that. It's so easy for us to, in any situation, but I'm obviously referring a little bit to the election, to assume that the person who is not in agreement with us is absolutely anti everything and is full of hate and does not understand and all of these things. And I used to do that. And that's why I can honestly say I used to think that people who didn't vote the same way I did must be filled with hate and must be filled with all of the nasty things that I see about that candidate, let's say, or whatever. Or whatever that perspective. I see that as a very divisive way or a divisive thing. So this person must be full of division and hatred. No, this person still wants, like, I know people who vote differently than I do, who have completely different perspectives than I do. Are they full of hate because they don't see eye to eye with me? No, they just have a different approach. They're seeing things differently. Do I agree with them? No, and that's okay. So I think one of the things that keeps us in conflict with each other so much is that we assume the worst of the person who doesn't see eye to eye with us, instead of realizing that they're just trying to find love the same way I am. They're just doing it a different way. They just have a different archaic belief system than I do. We come from different archaic belief systems. So why don't we both step out of our archaic belief systems and decide what works for me instead of listening to all of the noise? And we might find that we're actually more on the same page than we realize. We're just influenced by different perspectives.
Totally 100,000 times agree with that, because people try to trigger you. And I think, and I've learned a lot of this from you, choose your own wars. I mean, to me, it's not worth, if someone disagrees with me on Facebook, I'm not going to fight with them back.
Right.
No, all I'm going to do is say, I still love you. That's all I do. Yeah. And a lot of my friends we're on different planets when it comes to our beliefs about almost everything. And even within the party, I disagree. There's no perfect party.
Right. No, that's because there's only two, and there's a gajillion people on the in the country. How are we going to please everybody with only two options? It's just not going to happen.
It's not going to be. It's just not going to be.
That is an archaic system. Do you see what I mean? Like we can re-look at how things are looked at.
There are elected officials within my own party who run from me when they see me. I'll put it to you that way. Because I will tell them what I think. Not in a group setting.
And so then here's the thing, Donna. Are you trying to trigger them? No, you're trying to make your voice heard. So when we think someone just wants to trigger us, Remember, they probably don't. It's not there are those, but it's not in everybody's MO to trigger a person, but it is in everyone's MO to speak their truth, to tell you their opinion. And that might be in complete conflict with yours, which feels like, oh, this person's trying to trigger me. No, this person is expressing their perspective because I have a platform in which they want to do that. Okay, cool. Great. I don't have to react to that. I can say, I appreciate your perspective because it allows me to question mine and know where I actually stand. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. That's the perfect response. I mean, it really, okay, I have family members I'm going to dread being around this holiday. I'm just telling you.
Well, you are now because you've just said that. You can also be like, I'm not going to let this faze me.
I'm not. I want to enjoy my holidays. And exactly. I don't. I just look, and I'll tell you what, I've been gifted because I was raised in a really strange household. So one gift God gave me, or that I accrued or whatever, I'm really good to watching someone speak and totally be in another world. I'm not even listening to anything they're saying.
Oh, it's a skill.
But I think that's like you've said before, you're letting people have power over you when you do that. When you're fishing and that fish, when it takes that hook, I got him. But now if he swims on and doesn't pay any attention to my hook, I don't have power on him.
That's very true. That's very true. No one can make you anything. No one can make you mad. No one can make you anything. Now, their behavior can affect you if you allow it to. Mm-hmm. If you allow their behavior to anger you, cool. Trust me, this last week I've been dealing with some stuff and I have been angry, and that is not who I am. And it's been a challenge for me to be like, I am allowing this person to affect me. And they are affecting me in a different way already. Why would I give them this? And so, first of all, and this has been a huge thing for me, I'm giving myself a lot of grace because I'm human.
Oh, I love that word, grace.
And I have reactions and I have emotions and I'm allowed to experience them. But remember, scientifically, emotions process in our brain in 90 seconds. So if this person says or does something that sets me off and my reaction, my emotional reaction is anger, I got 90 seconds. If it continues to make me angry all day, if it ruins my day or my week, I'm doing that to myself. I'm replaying their behavior, that anger for myself over and over again. And that's unnecessary.
You're letting it loop.
Yeah, absolutely.
In our new terminology world.
Yeah, right. But that's the thing is that you are in control of your emotions. Feel your feelings. Get angry, but then let it be. And don't pick at it so that it festers. Don't hang on to it. I'm writing a book and I wrote this part about releasing anger and resentment and bitterness. And it's literally like holding on to a tug of war, like playing tug of war with those emotions. You're never going to win, but you're holding on to this rope and your hands get raw and bloody. Drop the rope. Drop the rope.
What? Oh, I love that. I love that. And that's why we have you on the show, girlfriend. We're going to have to call it a day. Thank you so much, because how can folks find out more about you? You got to plug into this girl.
Yeah, I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram at Julia Christine Healer. The best way to get a hold of me is either through Instagram and Facebook or to email me. I have a new email address, and it's healwithjuliachristine@gmail.com. That's the best way. And then, of course, the podcast, Life After Breath, every single day. It's on any podcasting thing. You can find me, Life After Breath with Julia Christine.
How's the weather in New York right now?
It's cold. It's not freezing. It rained yesterday. We're about 50 degrees.
Not bad.
No, it's beautiful. I'm looking at a beautiful blue sky right now. You can see the clouds coming and going by how bright my face is or not.
Well, it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Yeah, it is beautiful.
So much, Julie. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
And thank you guys so much for watching. We definitely appreciate it. Continue sending emails.
Yes,
and
please.
And do watch the show. That was a dude who told me about Don't Tell the Bride. So it really is a good one. But thank you again so much for watching us. And I hope you have a super duper awesome rest of the day. Yeah. You guys take care.